Since there's a good possibility that I may be taking the LTD on a 1,600-mile drive, and remember, the LTD is a Foxbody, so this applies to all you Foxbody guys out there too, I decided to go a little nuts with the cooling and install a 4-core Alloyworks aluminum radiator. Of course, there's tons of data with this because, well, it's me. And here's your dad joke of the day. 3, 2, 1, contact doors. First thing we got to do is take out the old radiator. Right, Simon? We got to take out that. That's really, really? Okay. All right, buddy. All right, so in order to take out the old radiator, we got to disconnect a few things. We have to disconnect Simon. Overflow is one. She's being a bit stubborn. All right. The easiest thing is to siphon out the coolant, especially since this isn't actually antifreeze because I raced this car. This is water with... Dude, you are killing me. I don't know why you want to be in here so bad. Anyway. Here. Let's put you on a chair. That way you can sit and watch. Alright, so this is really just distilled water with some anti-corrosion stuff in it. Is this going to be long enough? I don't know. It's in there now. Let's see. Let me get that down to the... Yeah, that should be enough, right? Alright, let's do this without inhaling it. It appears that we are successful. It's mystifying, isn't it, Simon? Does that seem smart to you? I don't think it's going to leak a lot, but it'll leak something. Whatever's in the hose. Alright, now let's put the radiator cap back on so we don't lose it. I mean, this stuff is all pretty old and crusty. It works just fine. It's just a good 10, 15 years old. And there are a few things, like that connector is pretty darn fried. It was actually recently keeping the cooling fan from turning on. So that's kind of what prompted this whole thing. Now here's where I ask you not to judge me. So regular Foxbody radiator hold down has these little metal things that come across and they screw down to these. I always thought that was kind of cumbersome, ugly, and overkill. What's a boy to do? Zip ties. Don't laugh at me, don't judge me. I've been using zip ties to hold my radiator in for well over a decade. I've never had a failure. And besides which, it makes radiator removal laughably easy. And installation. All for the lonely price of 3 zip ties. Watch how this works. That is it, people. That is it. And now we're going to let her pee out. Whatever's left. Yeah, it's good enough. And that's it. Let's put the new shiny stuff in. This thing's big and I don't have a good place to unbox it, so this is going to have to do. I've already pulled out the industrial staples. Let's see what's in the box. This is that expanding foam that you put in after the fact. That's actually a good thing to use. There's a package. So that looks like connectors. What is this? Oh, a temperature switch. That's nice. And a fused relay. It's actually quite nice. There's the transmission cooler ports here. Fan, shroud, 2 fans. Let's take a look at this side. Pretty. That's in good shape. Nice. So I'm going to give you all some measurements because that's really what you want to know. All right, let's take a look. So radiator from end tank to end tank is 29 3/8 of an inch. That's 19 3/8. 19 3/8 tall. The core itself is 2 7/8 thick. To the fan shroud is about 4 inches. And total depth appears to be just under 6, maybe 5 3/4. And that's the whole thickness. From the core, you can subtract about 1/4 inch from all that. Nice CNC machined cap. It even says CNC machined cap. All right, let's go put it in. Before I install this thing, there's a few things I want to go over real quick. One, it does actually come with a petcock to drain the radiator, but I'm not putting it in because it actually interferes with where we have our electric turbo / supercharger, whatever you want to call it. The volute actually crashes into it, so I'm just putting a plug in there. That's not how I drain the radiators anyway. I tend to siphon them out the filler cap. Another point is this radiator does have transmission cooling lines, which again, I'm not going to use, so I'm just going to keep these plastic caps in place. In case I ever change my mind, it's kind of nice to know. Another thing, when aluminum radiators are made, obviously the aluminum gets heated up to the annealing temperature, which makes it pretty soft. So there's cases where, for example, if some piece of aluminum that's been brazed or welded is not straight, like here, you can just move it back into place with your hands, because heating it up to the annealing temperature will anneal it and they'll make it soft, but you can't harden aluminum, at least most alloys, in the same way. Finally, the last thing I wanted to do is I wanted to show you all how much current these fans draw. I put my own connector on here. I use RC connectors. These are XT60s because I happen to have a lot of them from the electric turbo experiments, and they're pretty well made. These fans are rated at 12 volts, 90 watts each, which means under perfect conditions, let's see, so it's 180 watts total for the two of them. So you take 180 divided by 12. That means we should see about 15 amps current draw. This is a 3S battery. Let's grab the clamp meter here. Let's see how much it draws. Look at that. Pretty much exactly 15 amps. It's ideal. It's exactly what they're spec'd. And they sound cool too. Apparently for some reason I just want to keep talking about this thing. So this thing is pretty wide. My previous radiator is a single core, but the core is wider. This is a 4-core with 4 narrower cores. You can make it out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of cores right there. What's interesting is the more cores a radiator has, the less efficient each consecutive core you add becomes. That's not necessarily a bad thing. This will have a ton more cooling capacity than the radiator it's replacing. But with this 4-core, we're definitely not going to have any cooling issues. That's quite certain. Now let's go put it in. This time I mean it. Finally, the installation. This is actually probably the easiest part. Now I didn't want to drill holes in the radiator for my zip tie trick. So I decided to invest in a little bit of bling, shall we say. Behold. Prettier than zip ties, that's for sure. Behold, she is a thing of beauty. Now all that's left to do is fill it up and drive it. Alright, this is actually take 2 because in the first take, the transmission fluid was really cool and then all of a sudden it started getting really hot, and it turns out that what happened was the thermostatic switch on the fans on the transmission cooler failed. So now it's in the evening. It's still pretty warm outside. It's mid 50s, maybe pushing 60, but probably about 55 degrees, let's say. Future Alex here. I'm jumping in because, well, I'm not saying that a street race occurred here, But another YouTuber just got arrested 3 times for street racing and putting that on his channel. Now, I don't condone street racing. I advocate you not do it. And that didn't happen here, probably. But, you know, this is about the Radiator anyway. Let's get back to that. Yeah, the Radiator fan is off. It's really not going up. It's hanging out at 140. So the Radiator is a big thumbs up. Works quite well. Same with the transmission cooler. Thanks so much for taking this little street cruise with me. It means a lot that you decided to spend some time and come along. Give me a thumbs up if you're so inclined. That certainly helps the YouTube algorithm. And there's a lot more electric turbo stuff coming up, so I'll catch you all in the next one. Had I known he was going to race, I would have actually laid into it in first gear. But whatever. It's just a Model 3.